So how long have you been into typology?
Since last year.
Okay, so about a year.
Yeah.
And how deep have you gotten into it? Have you done a whole lot of research on it, or what?
I think I only grazed the surface.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and actually, I should say, ask first of all, like, what is your name?
My name is Countess One,
Oh, a Countess. Okay.
and
I'll
and
just put
I'm
Countess.
and I'm ISFP.
Okay, so you think that's what your type is, and you're declaring that right now?
I was told that I was ISFP.
Oh, okay.
I am ISFP. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I mean, that's gonna bias my typing of you now,
Oh,
but it's
oh,
okay.
it's fine.
It doesn't bother me that much. How old are you?
I'm in my 30s.
Okay, wow, you don't even want to give an age. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're from Singapore.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So, when when you were a child, like let's say 8 years old, what were you like?
My mother says I was quite turbulent child.
Turbulent child. Can you go?
Yeah, like I'm very bossy as a child. I'll tell boys what to do and I'll scream at them and things.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, that doesn't sound like an introvert, but okay. How about like in high school?
High school, I usually keep like to a group of four, and I just mind my own business. I just do my stuff. Nobody bothers me.
What what kind of people did you hang out with? Like, did you have different cliques, like groups of people in your high school that?
No, we only have one group. There's only four of us in the group, all females, and yeah, we just mind our own business, and nobody bullies us. We bully nobody. You know, that's all.
Did you four girls? Did you have like a thing that you all had in common? That
No,
like you all okay? You just happen to be friends.
we were in the same class.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, what do you enjoy doing for fun?
I like to read. I
Okay.
read mostly articles, short articles, because I'm a subscriber to a US based newspaper, and I read that almost every day. And I also like to read academic papers that are free and open access ones.
Well, academic papers like about what?
Recently, I've been reading about the Beat Generation because I wanted to know
Okay.
more about the trial.
What trial?
Um, there was a poem written by Allen Ginsberg entitled Howl, and the publisher who published the poem was put on trial for publishing obscene materials. So I wanted
Okay.
to know more about it.
I
Yeah.
see. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you
Yeah.
mostly like?
This question.
So, do you mostly like reading nonfiction stuff, basically about real things that happened?
Yes and no. Sometimes when I want to relax, I read fantasy.
Okay. Like what?
Yeah.
Like what kind of fantasy? Is there like a series that you like?
There was one I've been reading recently. It's about dragons who can replace, not dragons, dragons replace the aeroplanes and they can speak English like the queen.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, yeah, it's quite awesome.
Um. So, other than reading, what do you do with your free time?
Sometimes I run
Okay.
and that's all.
Sometimes, like what, once a week?
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I try in the morning when I get up. If
Mm-hmm.
it's not out, the sun is not out yet, I'll run.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll just don't run.
What, do you
Hmm.
not like the heat?
Yeah, it's too humid here, and
Oh
I
yeah,
sweat horribly.
I would
So
hate that. Yeah. Um. Do you pay a lot of attention to your comfort when it comes to things like that?
no, sometimes I could be very hungry suddenly, or I need to go to the toilet suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's quite inconvenient sometimes.
Well, what do you mean suddenly? Like you suddenly realize after a long time, or?
Yeah, like sometimes I could hurt myself, like my hand, it would be
Hmm.
bleeding, but I wouldn't realize until someone say, "Hey, you're bleeding."
Oh, I'm like that too.
Um,
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah.
Um, so what do you do for a living then?
I did right now. I'm at a crossroads sort of because I was doing a number of jobs. Can I tell you the summary of the jobs I did in the
Sure, yeah.
past? Then I can tell you what happened. Okay. So I've been working since I was 17, but studying at the same time. So I did many jobs. So my first job was Haagen-Dazs ice cream that I worked at Starbucks. It was the best time of my life. And then I worked for banks while I was still in university. So I did a number of jobs for the banks, mostly sold their products or promote their products, but also I was in the payments department. And then after that, I also worked for the civil service. After I graduated, I worked as a civil servant, but I did mostly policy. So I make them, I assess them, I write about them, I critique them. And then also, I was a land valuer, property valuer. So I value the current market value of residential properties for the purpose of mortgage or sale. And then after that, I became a writer, sort of. I write at first formal stuff, but now I'm going to creative writing. And then sometime last year, I decided that I wasn't happy. So I wanted to go on an adventure. So I planned to go to Kosovo in January, but I couldn't go because of the coronavirus. So
Okay.
now I have to. Yeah.
Kosovo.
Yeah. Because I have a friend there
Okay. Well, no, I was
and I
just
could.
wondering. It must not be safe to go to a lot of places now that I hadn't realized.
Yeah, because Singapore we have a few cases and I don't want to pick something up and bring it into a country that's trying to rebuild itself.
Oh, I got
So I
you.
thought, yeah.
So you just considered not wanting to potentially be a carrier and then spreading it elsewhere.
Yeah, and they're trying to rebuild themselves, right? They only recently
Yeah. Well,
recovered.
funny enough, I just typed a guy who he was from Albania and he grew up in a different country, Serbia maybe, and
That's next to us. Yeah.
yeah, and then his family was basically a victim of the violence surrounding Kosovo. So it's a funny connection now that you mention it. But so do you often consider the well being of others?
Um, no, when I identify injustice more than I consider well-being. If I see something wrong, I will speak up. And if I see something that needs to be fixed, I try to fix it.
You mean like a sense of like fairness or balance?
Like, yeah, like trying to, no, more like trying to correct things that is not correct. Something like that.
Well, what do you mean by correct? Do you mean the right thing to do,
Um,
like morally, or like the right thing to do uh, in some other sense?
Morality is probably the second thing that I would consider. But the first thing I consider is somebody is saying something that is wrong, and I want to correct the person, so the person will say correct things.
Oh, factually, you mean?
Yeah, factually and also behavior wise. For
What do you?
example, he's causing chaos, or he's saying something that is unfair, or he's promoting something false, something like that.
Okay, so do you like readily police people's behavior if you find that it's incorrect in some way?
I think I'm known as the person who speaks up.
Okay. Okay. Well, can you give me like when was the last time you had to be the one who spoke up?
This morning, somebody came to a live stream and started to make fun of someone, and then I scolded him.
Oh, okay. Well, what about like in real life?
I scold people in real life.
Oh, well, the last time you did that.
The last time I did that was my brother because I I can't remember what he did. I think he was late or something. He was late, and I got really mad.
Okay. Will you do that with people you don't really know as well as like your family, or if you're not just talking to people online?
If I see someone doing something nasty, like bullying someone outside, a stranger, I would tell the person off.
Sorry, so you're comfortable readily basically getting into conflicts or conversations with people who you aren't already in your circle.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
because I travel alone. And
Hmm.
when I travel alone, I used to go to restaurants alone and I'll talk to the person next to me.
Oh, okay.
Or, yeah, so I'm not scared to approach
So,
strangers or talk to it.
would you say you're a really friendly person?
Not really. I keep to myself. I only speak when I have to or when I feel a bit bored, which is not all the time.
Well, that kind of contradicts what you just said, though. If you really only
Yeah, I
speak when you
know.
have to.
Yeah, like like when I travel alone, I can speak to only say 2% for the entire week because that 2 moments is when I've been away from people for far too long and it's time for me to engage with someone.
Okay. So, do you spend most of your time alone?
Yes,
Okay. So you don't normally like spending time with other people, you're saying.
exactly.
Okay. But at the same time, like every now and then you just have like this sudden urge to like interact with people and it's not difficult for you.
Yes, but I will call people who I can have like a meaningful conversations with. I cannot call and say, "Hi, how are you?" Small talk. I hate small talk.
Well, so what might you talk with someone who's sitting next to you about?
Say if I'm overseas,
Mm-hmm.
for example, when I was in Spain, I was talking to a random guy. I was asking him for recommendations for places that I could eat that locals will go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's the best person to ask as locals, right? And then
Right.
he told me some awesome places to visit, and he tells me a bit of the history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you just kind of have specific information that you want from people?
Yes.
So you don't. Okay. So you really don't like just talking to them about random stuff.
Mm,
Like,
no.
okay. So what are you normally focused on then? Just doing things that are like fun or interesting for you? You just don't.
I have a question in my head, and then I will try to answer it by Googling something like that.
No, I mean it seems like you're mostly just looking for fun experiences, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, because
No?
I'm most of the time at home, so not
Oh,
really.
okay.
Yeah.
So you really spend most of your time absorbing information then, because that's what
Yes.
you do when you're by yourself. And
Yes.
the kind of information that you're absorbing is factual information.
Yes, which I use to, critique or I talk about it or I try to, if there are two facts that are opposing, I try to reconcile, find a point that can reconcile the both of them or try to make sense out of them because it's like a puzzle to me and I like it.
Okay, so I mean, to me, it sounds like you're an SI user, um, and it also sounds like you're a TI user.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
do you like things really that are mostly historical, or do you like what kinds of topics tend to interest you?
Um, I studied law, so I like legal stuff, current legal stuff. I also like sociology. I like um, I like to analyze it not and yeah, I like to analyze things, but not like I don't know, I'm not very good at maths and things like that, but I just like to understand how society works or what goes in people's head when they do certain things. I like to like when someone behaves a certain way, I like to guess what goes under his head so that he's doing all those kind of things.
Would you like to imagine it or actually guess?
I like to imagine it and then after that I will say like, okay, after this he's gonna do this.
Oh,
Then
you're
after
trying to
that he's
predict
gonna
it.
do that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
And then I will have a kick out of it if I'm right.
would you say that you're good at predicting people's behavior?
Yes, I'm good at picking their weaknesses, and then if I get angry, I just keep poking it, and then they will explode.
Have,
And yeah,
have you always been good at that?
yes.
Okay. Are you good at getting people to like you when you want them to?
Uh, I just be myself, I guess. People naturally like me, I think, because I don't bother anybody, and I help people, so I don't see any reason why they won't like me.
So, do you not frequently step on people's toes at all?
Um, of course, I do. When I scold them, they will hate me very much,
Oh,
but
right.
I accept that the consequences.
But you're fully aware of what you're doing. I get that. But like,
I mean, yeah, it's logical because if you scold someone, they will most likely not like you.
right. Um, are you good at managing people's perceptions of you? Like, if you want them to think a certain way about you, do you know
Oh,
like what to do or say to make that
you're
happen?
being
So, I was asking you, do you find that you're good at managing people's perceptions of you? And more specifically, like, do you think that if you want somebody to think or feel a certain way about you, do you know what you could do or say that makes that happen?
no,
No.
no, no, not at all.
So, how do you what is the kind of thing that you might do to get somebody to like you?
Be polite. Be mindful of the way I speak.
Just don't say anything rude, basically.
Yes.
Is that something that you often did when you were younger that you had to learn not to do?
My mom told me that if I want people to be nice to me, I have to be nice to them.
Okay, so were you mean a lot as a kid then?
No, I just say whatever I feel like.
What does that mean? Just like you just didn't have a filter?
Because I don't, I'm a very truthful person, and I tend to say what I see about a person, and it is not a correct way to behave with people because sometimes they don't. Not everybody wants to hear truth. Okay, sorry,
No, it's okay. So what were you saying before?
I forgot. What was the question?
Well, so I was asking you about how you might get people to like you, and then we got to talking about how you had a problem basically what with being too blunt with people. Like,
I
did
speak the
you?
truth.
Well, like, what can you give me an example of a kind of truth that you might speak that might get that reaction out of people?
Um, you know, people complain that, oh, the maths did say, no, the teacher doesn't suck. You suck. Something like that.
Oh, so it just insults basically.
No, because people like to blame other things instead of themselves. And
Right.
I will tell them that it's not true because you'll never change. If you don't realize that the fault lies with you, you will never change. So I will tell them that, you need to
Mm.
rework. Yeah, you have to study properly. You have to identify your weaknesses, and then work on it. Lying on it is not going to make you better.
Okay, so people find you kind of judgmental when you say stuff like that, or something, or you
I
make
don't know if they
them,
find me judgmental.
or rather, maybe that you make them feel bad about themselves because all of a sudden they have to
I make
face the
them,
fact that they're kind of trying to lie to themselves, I guess.
yes, I guess that. I guess that is
Okay.
it.
So are you the kind of person then who, do you have like very little patience for people who kind of like complain about their problems and don't do anything about it?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you the kind of person who's usually very like goal focused? Like, are you always figuring out how to do things and what to do next?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I'm always doing it. Like before I finish this one, I'm already thinking about what to do next and so on. Or I'll be very bored and I'll be very disappointed, like depressed.
Okay, so you have to have something to keep yourself busy all the time? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So do you have
Yes.
like little projects that have to do with your hobbies, or is it more like quote unquote productive things?
Productive things. Because, for example, recently I've been very obsessed with doing live streams, but I pick a topic to research on and I talk about it. So I'm always thinking about the next live stream that I'm going to do, the topics that I'm going to think about. Like
Okay.
last month, no, last week it was on Plato, and then the week before that it was something else. I'm already thinking like what I'm going to discuss next, and
Okay.
and thinking, yeah.
So do you like having things planned and scheduled?
No, not fixedly. I wouldn't say fixed. I just have like a general idea what I'm gonna. I will leave some flexibility in case it doesn't work, so that I can change course.
Okay. But you have like a contingency plan in place.
Yes, plan B or something. I realize, okay, this is not going to work. I will change my focus elsewhere, direct my focus elsewhere.
Okay. I mean, you seem to plan things out more than I do, because sometimes I'll literally that day I'll be like, you know what, I should make a video today. I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about exactly, but I have a general idea. I'm just going to start talking.
Yeah, I plan.
Right.
I do. I plan
Okay.
already all the details, what I'm going to say, and then I will already plan what people are going to say, and then I prepare the arguments or something like that.
Huh. Okay. So I'm seeing like, let's see here. Is there somebody like in your family or one of your friends or something that you frequently come into contact and into conflict with, like one of your parents or something?
My mother is ISFP, my sister is ESFP, and my mom and me sometimes because she's very funny reasoning,
Well, can you give
which
me like
sometimes I point out.
when is the last time you guys had like an argument?
Last time, but we rarely speak to each other. See,
Okay.
the last time was quite a while back. She went to my fridge and she gave my nephews my chocolate, and then I was telling her, stop. I don't mind giving away things, but please ask me first.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, but it's the food is for eating, something like that.
So what do you mean by her reasoning is funny?
A bit sometimes like when she borrows my things, or okay, one time she borrowed my bag, and I asked her, why did you borrow my bag? She says, it's because you didn't use. So I just feel like, a person would naturally think that this is not my item. I cannot just walk into people's room. I must respect boundaries. I must also respect that it's people's property. I must ask for permission. Otherwise, it could be theft, right? She doesn't consider any of those things.
Okay. So it seems like you kind of assume that other people are aware of like a certain set of like rules that you should follow to be like a decent, respectable human being.
There's a minimum standard, okay? I'm not like I'm more or less flexible. Like for example, if someone's homosexual or they have different religious views, I respect everybody's rights.
We're back. So I said something like, it sounds like you kind of expect that everyone's aware of like these certain basic rules that you should follow to be respectable, and then you started explaining that you're pretty flexible. And flexible how exactly?
I respect everybody regardless of their race, religion, or sexual orientation. So I will never, tell them you cannot get married because you're gay or whatever.
Right. But you still have certain standards of behavior that you hold people to. Is what I mean.
Yes, yeah, I guess so. At the minimum, I expect people to behave this way at the minimum.
Right.
And yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering where you get this idea of like of what it means to behave properly.
How do I? I do not know.
Did you just
I
kind of
guess
piece it together
instincts.
yourself over time, kind of?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that is, yeah.
Okay. Um. So I'm seeing like SINT. Why do you think that you're an introvert?
I'm not an introvert. I'm actually an extrovert. But I was told by people that I'm ISFP, and that I
Okay.
should disregard the I pit.
So you were just kind of joking about that. It's just kind of something that other people called you.
But there were at least 3 people who said it, so
Okay.
it must come from somewhere.
Well, I think you have FI in your stack, but you don't strike me as someone who's FI dominant. Like the simple sorts of disagreements that you have with your mother, I think, are kind of evidence of that. Um, I mean, you seem to me like you're a TE dom. You kind of have that like goal oriented, process oriented kind of thinking, and you have like really no patience for people who don't just fix things or be productive.
Exactly.
You're
Stop being
never the kind
lazy.
of
Do
person,
something.
yeah. You're the kind of person, yeah. You would never be lazy. You would never complain about
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, yeah. There's no point for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I hate to listen to complaints.
You seem more likely to be an ESTJ than an ENTJ. So anyone who's calling you an ISFP is basically like flipping you upside down in
Oh,
terms of what your
okay.
functions are. I think.
Okay.
Like they see you being spicy and they think you're like an FI dominant, but yeah, you have FI in there, and it's probably speaking from the bottom of your stack a lot more just because you're a woman, when you get down to it. And so people will see that, and then they'll think that you're not really a thinking person fundamentally.
I guess because I'm quite, yeah, I guess because normally they don't expect me to go like that.
Right. And you have like really good like kind of fake extroverted feeling, which is something that I see a lot from TE DOMs. Like they're good at knowing like how to present themselves properly and how to basically get what they want from people, but they're not like naturals at manipulating other people.
I don't think I try even.
Right. And yeah, you speak very bluntly and say things that are true but might offend people, which that stereotypical TE dom stuff is like facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, but because it's pointless, right? Why? Why do I
Right.
need to care?
Well, you need to care because other people care, and unfortunately, we have to interact with other people. That's what it comes
I
down to.
know.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really interact with people that much.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of TE dominants that identify as introverts because they really can largely live without other people. They're not necessarily people focused at all.
Yeah.
And they can find plenty of ways to busy themselves that have nothing to do with interacting with other people and still satisfies their extroverted nature.
Exactly.
Um, Same thing with like extroverted intuitive dominance. Like I always say, like the internet is the worst thing ever to happen to them because they can get all the external stimulation they need just from stuff on the internet, and they can be very lazy and unproductive and never leave their bedroom as a result, even though they're extroverts.
Yeah. For example, when I was in Spain, and then I listened to they have like a kind of podcast that you can listen to and walk at the same time. So, I didn't have to interact with anybody at all. I could just listen to the podcast explaining the history of the place or whatever, or the meaning of something.
Yeah, and just your love of just absorbing information and just learning about stuff that's actually practical and maybe useful to know is also kind of tells me that you're probably STJ. Like, I like learning things, but a lot of the time it's stuff that nobody would ever be like, why are you even bothering to think about that kind of stuff?
Okay, but I'd like to talk about my SI because I've been told that
Yeah.
my SI is quite bad. My
Really?
memory is not very good. Yeah, very, very bad.
It seems like you're already, by speaking to you, that you remember some of the sorts of things that other people probably wouldn't.
Because, for example, when I try to talk to someone and I just gave them a fact and then they'll ask me for more to give them the details. And as a result, they think that I am not correct.
Can you give me an example of that?
I can only, if I describe something, for example, if I say, why is this person guilty? I will say the person is guilty because of this, because of certain intentions or motives, but I cannot say exactly, describe what he did, the action itself, like open the door, go into the room, sneak in, or whatever. I cannot describe that sequence, but I can say that he is guilty because this and that.
Well, what evidence would you provide then, if not?
For example, if you look into this bag, you can notice that there was something missing, or like the thing's not there anymore. Nobody entered the room, but he's the only one who went into the room, and the thing is missing. Just because you cannot find the thing it didn't evaporate, right? It has to be him. But
Right.
I'm not able to say, yeah.
Oh, but you just can't. You have no actual tangible like video footage or anything of it happening. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in my head, I can never
Right.
explain like what a person did or what a person is wearing or what exactly he said, but I can remember roughly what he said.
Well, that doesn't mean you have bad SI though. If you just if you didn't see the guy do it, right, if you have no past experience to go off of, then obviously you're not going to be able to provide the evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless even if I was there, I would not be able to say in sequence what he did. I do not remember things like that very well, and it's quite bad. So I want to know, what's your explanation?
Well, you're not necessarily going to have like a really good recollection of all the events that occurred like in your past, but there are certain details, I guess, that will jump out at you that that will stick into your mind.
Yes.
That you notice and recognize and remember very easily. You kind of, what SI really is at its core, I guess, is just building up kind of a worldview that is based on past experiences that you've actually personally had. So SI means, I guess, you'll tend not to generalize about things a lot, and you'll go actually off of your past experience. I mean, it also means that it kind of affects the way that you get impressions from things that happen to you. Like, you won't necessarily like remember them specifically, but they'll give you a very like visceral impression that sticks with you.
That's right then.
Okay. Why would you say that's
Yes.
right?
I remember the impressions. I don't remember details.
Well,
That's what I got.
like what do you mean by impression then?
Say, for example, I met someone. I've talked to the person before, but I don't remember talking to this person. I'm very bad with names and face. But then as I'm talking to a person, I suddenly remember, oh, she is, for example, homophobic, or she's racist, for example. I remember things like that. It will come back to me slowly.
And you remember those things how? Just from previous interactions, conversations that you had?
A feeling. I wouldn't remember exactly where the details of what he said exactly, but I remember that this person is racist. Or I remember one time, remembered yesterday, somebody came to the live stream and was basically saying something to a person. Then I remember that this person is an enemy because he has written something bad about this person. So he didn't come in with pure intent. He came with malicious intent. I remember that he is a person with malicious intent. That's how I remember. But I don't remember what he said or whatever.
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
So is it kind of that? Is it a thing where like you have already kind of labeled this person as bad, or is it really just that you actually kind of suddenly it dribbles back into your mind that they said certain things that could mean that they're not a good person?
No, I when I see a person, I see intention. Yeah, I don't see like what is inside his head. I immediately go in and I look at that. I don't look at a person like, oh, he's beautiful or handsome. I look immediately, bad person, good person. He's coming here to create trouble. He's coming here to make peace. He's coming here to sell something. He's coming here to manipulate someone. That's how I think when I see a person. That's the kind of impression I remember of a person, or what he wear or whatever.
Well, I guess what I mean is, you say kind of like you might be talking to someone and then suddenly kind of remember that, oh, this person's a racist or whatever. Is it because you had kind of previously determined them to be a racist, or is it because you suddenly, in the midst of conversation, right, recalled a previous conversation where you had kind of thought that something they said was off? Like, is it something that kind of suddenly hits you? Like,
most of the time people, no, most of the time people don't say it directly. I like to read between the lines.
Okay.
I like to guess what, sometimes when you say ABC, but actually you mean DEF, right? I like to guess DEF. Right. And then that DEF is like racist or idiot, and so on.
That's interesting. Why are you always looking, are you really like kind of always looking for like something negative, like something to critique about people?
No, sometimes I also see the good in people. For example, I know a guy named Octavia Silva or Winston. I don't know do you know Winston? You know them, right?
I remember
that's how I remember them that way. The goodness, kids, very high moral standards. Winston's mom, she can deliver justice or words, but in a very, very honorable way. And then there's Hambone, who is also a great defender. That's how I remember people.
Okay.
By the things they say, and then I extract from it their character or whatever, and that's how I remember them.
Okay. Do you think when you go on like a vacation overseas, would you prepare a lot for it, or do you just kind of like throw your stuff in your bag and go?
No, I prepare. But I don't over prepare like people. I will have the exact amount because I want to travel light, right? Because I travel alone.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would just have, 2 black sweaters or 1 comfortable pants. But because I travel a lot, so I know what I need and don't need. So I just put it in the packing cube and then off I go. So I can I can pack like in less than a day, which is a feat for most women.
Yeah, so you sound like you don't really need to have a whole ton of clothes to be happy with yourself then.
No, and also my clothes are only black and white, so they're easy to match.
Okay. Do you have like an itinerary for your trip?
No.
No?
That's crazy. Never.
Insurance?
I have a general idea. Insurance, yes, just because someone steals my money, so I can make claim. But I never have like fixed, like for example, I have a rough idea. I will go here if I have time, and then the rest I will just depends on what I feel like. maybe along the way I find another place, interesting place, I go there. Or if I go to a place that I wanted to go and I find it boring, I leave, and then I find other things to do.
Okay. Do you appreciate art a lot?
I appreciate art. I cannot draw or paint. I suck at it, but I like to think about meanings. Meanings is awesome for me. I like to imagine what the fellow is trying to say.
If you could you do you think that you would be good at determining whether like a piece of music is objectively good or bad?
No,
No?
I mean like psychedelic music. I don't like any other music.
Hey, me too, pretty much. Love my
Pop
psychedelic
music is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of the 60s, that's my favorite.
I'm a 60s guy.
Oh, me too. I like Pink Floyd, the first album with Sid Barrett inside. What's it called now? It's called I don't know what it's called. But it's Lucifer Sam inside.
Oh. So, what about like abstract or contemporary art that like, how do you feel about that stuff? Because sometimes I look at it and I'm like, how is that even art? Because it's just like a few lines.
Oh, that's very interesting. One time I went to a museum in France, I think, and then I walked into a room and there was just a toilet bowl attached to a wall. And I was thinking, what is this? And then I walked in and then there was people, he's just basically attaching pears, which he spray paint gold or whatever, and he attached it to the wall also, which I find a bit dumb. But then about a few weeks ago, I was talking with Angetier, one guy named Angetier, about anime. And then I read out about it and I realized that a lot of people who dress up, it's called, what do you call that? Those people who dress up as the anime characters.
Cosplayers?
Yeah, cosplay. It's actually, it stems from postmodernity. So, and that means it's challenge the definition or idea of what art should be. And that's what also Andy Warhol did. So he put like Campbell soup and all things. So he's also challenging the idea that there's no standard definition of what art should be or what it looks like.
Okay. Do you agree with that?
No. Yes, obviously.
Okay.
I don't like sticking to tradition. I don't like to have a fixed definition of what things should be or whatever. I like to be able to live, to be able to be free and explore other things, because everything changes. There's nothing fixed to me. Even society changes, even culture changes, everything changes, and we have to accept that it changes when we have the final shape, and then understand that the shape will continue to change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Do you go out to eat a lot?
No.
No. How often would you say?
I have an app called Food Panda. Whenever I'm hungry, I just buy on my app.
Oh, it just gets delivered, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, if I'm trying to find a better angle for this, then I guess, are there certain foods or maybe certain types of media that you feel like a strong connection to, that you really like, and so you like to experience them again and again? Or are you the kind of person who easily gets bored and always wants to try new things?
One time I went to the USA and I didn't want to go out and to the grocery store and buy food, so I ate potato salad every day for 5 days.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me at all.
Why potato salad?
Because I have potatoes and I have mayonnaise and vegetable.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of talking about like maybe like a dish that like your grandma used to cook or something that you used to eat all the time, No?
I don't remember what she cooked. No.
I'm just wondering if there's certain foods that basically you've eaten all your life or that you've gotten accustomed to eating that um, you like to have every now and then. No.
Chocolate. I like chocolate all the time.
Well, okay. A lot of us like chocolate. Um, how about like? Are there any songs that you might have heard when you were like a teenager or something that like you'll listen to again? Just
No.
for the nostalgia? No.
Nope. No. Yuck.
Okay.
The song sucks, right? There's no song that's nice in it.
What
Yeah.
do you mean?
I don't remember listening to any songs that I like.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, what about like movies or TV shows or? I guess
No.
I'm kind of looking for like anything that's like not a person, some kind of like, food item or object or piece of media or like something that you have an attachment to.
I do not have an attachment to anything.
Okay. Well, except people, right? There's some people you're attached to, I hope. No?
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay, I mean, well, you're definitely not an FI Dom then. That's all I have to say. I
Okay.
can't try to imagine one of them saying, "Oh, I don't have an attachment to anything." Um, I guess it's hard to say that you have SI high in your stack now too. Um,
Oh no, are we confused about what I am now?
well, I mean, you are kind of tricky, I guess. I mean, I think you probably
Oh.
knew that you would be.
Yes.
I mean, do you think you have a pretty good idea of what you are, or are you just as confused as I am?
I don't understand SI.
Right.
That's why I come to you, because I only know I'm either ENTJ or ESTJ. But my memory is bad. That's all I have. So I am depending on you to tell me about my SI.
Well, here's where I'm seeing the SI basically is how you can sort of answer one of my questions, but then you'll be like, oh wait, that reminds me of something else, which I think is possibly third slot NE kind of kicking in, making a connection to something, right? And then your SI is causing you to you'll basically
You're cutting off.
Oh. Can you hear
Sorry,
me now?
I cannot. No, yes, but I cannot hear anything you said about the explanation.
Okay, so what I was saying was you have this tendency that I observe in SI tool users, basically ESFJs and ESTJs, where they'll like answer one of my questions and then that will kind of remind them, or they'll make a connection, which I think is probably like third slot extroverted intuition, and then they'll start explaining about, and this is where I see a lot of like SI basically, is you start explaining about maybe something else that happened that's like kind of tangentially related to what we were talking about, and then it'll be like some story that, you're able to flesh it out with like a few details about different things. You'll basically kind of launch into extra like descriptions and stories and like anecdotes, I guess is what I would say, that you wouldn't really see people with a lot of like NI bothering to do that sort of thing. They're much more succinct, I guess, in their speech.
Okay.
I think the SI tool users, like, they have like a lot more to say, a lot more to talk about, and they have a lot more like facts and data that they're collecting. Whereas the NI people, they don't have like a lot of like discrete bits of information like that in their head. It all kind of like coalesces into like a singular mass.
Okay.
So I guess Wait, does there sound good? Okay, what were you gonna say?
I can see you thinking.
Yeah. I guess basically I'm kind of looking at it from the perspective of how you're actually pulling in and storing and retrieving information. which is really what your perception functions are about at the end of the day. You know, you're not necessarily going to see all SI users having good memories. And for me, also, for some reason, it seems like SFJs will like remember a lot more of what even you might consider to be like more mundane details or something, because they're TE users. It's like the kind of data that that's going to tend to stick in their minds is stuff that can actually be like utilized in the systems that they're focused on. So they're not as likely to remember like people's names and stuff, because that's the kind of stuff that you would be more interested in remembering, right? Were you using your extroverted feeling as your judging function? You know what I'm saying? It would be a lot more important to like remember people's names and birthdays and stuff like that. If you're a TE user, that kind of stuff is not so important to you. It's not so present in your awareness that you're going to be likely to remember it. But at the same time, you're still going to be good at remembering certain details on a level that a lot of other types of people still aren't going to be able to do.
Okay.
But you definitely seem to have like the structured, kind of organized, process-oriented nature of an STJ, I would say. And you don't strike me as an introvert, that's for sure. I think ESTJ is probably the most likely for you. Yeah.
Yay!
I mean, that was one of the types you were considering, I guess?
Yeah, the only two. They only make sense. And everything else is like, no.
Yeah, TE Dom makes the most sense for you. Also, from like a voltology perspective, a lot of people don't buy into this stuff, but I noticed that both TE and FE dominant people, they like talk with their hands a lot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like they.
Sometimes I need to tell you, like,
right.
it helps me like, when I do this.
I don't know. It's part of. It's like part of. It satisfies your cognition in some way, I think.
Yeah.
It helps you like grapple with stuff outside of yourself, I guess. It's kind of cool to watch it, but a lot of like, especially like the SI and the NI dominant people, they'll sit like perfectly straight and still.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I almost punch somebody because I like to move my hands so much. I almost punch someone at the back.
Oh my god! I accidentally elbow my girlfriend or wife now every now and then, but she gets annoyed about it, especially when I'm sleeping. But
oh my god! Okay.
But yeah, you flail around a lot.
I do. Sometimes when I am trying to say something, and then I realize that when I move my hands, I tend to recall things faster. If I do this, I don't really like. Sometimes I'm trying to say something and then it stops because I don't know what to say next. I forgot what I wanted to say. But if I keep moving, it comes out like it comes out. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. I see a lot of NE from you too. Like I can see you being confused for like an ENFP or something like that, maybe.
Oh, really?
Because I don't know. Like I see like enough development in like both your first and your third slot function that you're like super extra bubbly with like the TE and the NE combined, whereas like, even your average TE Dom would not be quite so energetic looking as you.
I never thought I have NE, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always thought that I don't have NE. My NE sucks basically. My TI sucks. That's what I always tell myself.
Well, I mean, it's in you'd be TI ignoring, so like it doesn't.
You're breaking up.
Sorry. I mean, it doesn't suck, I guess, but like for me, like TE is my fifth slot function, so like I guess I feel like my TE sucks a lot of the time. But then you put me with a certain other type of person, like I was hanging out with Eric, for example, and he would be he'd be like trying to hold up his phone camera with like a little pile of rocks that he just pushed together, right? And the rocks would keep tumbling down and the phone would collapse, and he'd be like, dang it, now we have to start recording again. And then he'd set it up on the rocks again, and I'd be like, We've been trying to hold this phone up with rocks for 15 minutes and it's not working. Why don't you find a better solution, right?
I would scream.
Right, exactly. And that's when I realized that my TE could be a lot worse, right? So that's probably what your TI is like.
I can't do it when I have to, but if I do it, I'll
Right.
be very angry.
No, you have to watch like other people be completely inept with it, and then you finally notice, okay, I'm actually gonna have to be the one who's good at this right now.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Yeah, you'd
Okay.
rather other people do it.
Well done, Spacey. I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you doing this.
Oh, no problem.
So, I mean, do you have any questions or anything else, or do you want to wrap it up?
I want to know why is it I'm NI-polar? Because I've been told by some people that I have quite good NI. How does NI-polar manifest in me?
Well, what I see with NI-polar people that can sometimes make them think that they're NI-DOMs or make other people think that they're NI-DOMs is that because they are actually so bad at predicting what's going to happen in the future, they
Oh,
they take precautions and plan for all kinds of possible things that might happen, which makes it seem like, right, they're always ready for anything, which makes it look like, right, they're kind of maybe accurately predicting what's going to happen. But what they actually do to cover up that being their blind spot is, like I said, they try to think of all the different things that might happen based on what's happened before, right? And then make sure that they have a plan in place, kind of, or make sure that they will be able to deal with any of those things happening.
oh. I'm very good at telling the future.
What do you mean?
Maybe my NI is like I can when a person does an action, I can immediately guess he's going to do C, D, E, and so on.
Well, I mean, the funny thing also is that NI doesn't really, predicting the future isn't really what it does, just like SI isn't really just looking to the past all the time.
Okay.
It's not really that black and white. Like an SI user can be really good at predicting what's going to happen just because they have so much experience with it. You know what I mean? So kind of having kind of like a line already established on a graph with enough history in it, it's really easy to extrapolate where it's going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So if you have a lot of experience, right, then the SI user is actually going to be more accurately predicting what's going to happen.